It's July 2021, starting from the 22nd of June to July 27th, and I'm going to review every film and TV show I've watched. Now, strap in because it's been a hell of a month. Fast and Furious 9. Over-the-top action, cheesy lines, corny sequences, ridiculous bonkers story, and oh so much more. F9 or Fast 9 or whatever you want to call it is more Fast and Furious, and if that sounds like something you'll want, well, this is going to be right up your alley. Flashbacks flesh out the characters, the villains are a little bland, the action is brilliant, and the visuals are good too. This is a strong entry into the franchise, but don't be fooled by all the chaos. It's about family. It's not, that's just an excuse to make it more sophisticated and depth-filled than it really is. Anyway, it's a fun film, a step above the last mainline entry, but not the best the franchise has to offer. Mayor of Easttown is a very traditional murder mystery, where a missing child from the past comes back to be connected to a recent murder. The problem with Mayor of Easttown is that it's just too damn traditional. It's full of cliches, full of stereotypes, lacks any real originality, and it doesn't have much in the way of surprises or thrills either. What does work is the acting, which is really good, as well as the soap opera elements of characters clashing over personal issues, which then encroach on their careers. It's enjoyable, no doubt about it, but if you've seen one middle American town with a tight-knit community rocked by a murder series, you've also seen everything this one has to offer too. Freaky. It's a real blend of comedy, horror, science fiction, in which a murder victim and her murderer switch bodies. Chaos and calamity ensues as the murderer, now in the new body, wreaks havoc across town. There's a real fun element to this film. The problem is that the film struggles at times to figure out what it is. Is it a comedy? Yes, there are funny moments. Is it a horror? Yes, there are some scary moments. But it constantly jumps from one theme and genre to the other, not getting the balance right until about halfway. Even then, a lot of the comedy is robbed of its potential because of the horror, and a lot of the horror is limited because of the comedic elements. I enjoyed it, but I really wanted to like it more. Also, if you've seen the trailers for this film, you've seen the best things in the film already. Mythic Quest Season 1, Raven's Banquet. The Apple TV original takes a couple of episodes to get its footing, at which point it becomes clear that the characters of Mythic Quest are what makes this show so good. Set in a fictional video game developer's office, Mythic Quest is a well-realized, often smart show about office relations and the creative process of video games. The first season really hits a stride at the halfway point, with a more dramatic episode featuring flashbacks leading up to the start of the show's story. I like this show a lot, even when it sometimes dives into silly moments. Also, shout out to Ashley Birch, famed video game actor and writer who is a major character in this, and also shout out to Charlotte Nickdow. Not sure about the pronunciation, but she plays Poppy and she's absolutely brilliant in it. Another round. Here's a good idea. What if we try to consume more alcohol to help boost our daily performance? What could possibly go wrong? Well, Another Round explores that hypothesis to great comedic and dramatic effect. This is a damn good film, and it's further proof that Mads Mikkelsen is one of the finest, most underrated actors working today. Another Round centers on a group of middle-aged teachers, each one with their own personal struggles. The cast of characters is great, with good performances across the board, and well-realized personalities for each of the central characters. It's well filmed, it balances comedy with heartfelt drama really well too, resulting in at times emotional and at other times uplifting and hopeful moments. Bizarrely, this is a feel-good movie with lessons about alcohol consumption mixed in there. I really recommend this. Bosch, Season 7. Bosch has come to an end with Season 7, although a spin-off show is in development. A spin-off that will also star Bosch. So isn't that just another season? Well, I don't know. Sticking with Season 7 though, this is more Bosch. It's a good grounded noir crime drama. This season focuses on a fire that kills several people. Bosch has to investigate, of course. There's some backroom politics with the FBI going on, and it's very traditional Bosch, only shorter with 8 episodes instead of 10. If you like Bosch, you'll like this. It's good, consistently good, but it does sometimes lack energy and excitement. I would say this is one of the better seasons and it ends suitably dramatic, giving the characters closure and a send-off, setting things up for the potential spin-off. The Tomorrow War. This is not a good film. It's very rough around the edges. It's about a former soldier sent into the future to fight a war that's yet to come, because in the future, things are a little bleak. There are some great ideas in here. There are some cool action set pieces, really well done horror sequences, and the performances of Chris Pratt and Yvonne Strahovski are great too. Sadly, it's overstuffed, with enough material for an entire trilogy. The CGI and special effects aren't very good either, which is a problem when most of the film and its premise relies on these elements, and the storyline is a bit predictable and uninspired. There's definitely fun to be had with the film. I did enjoy bits of it, but it could have been way better. Reno 911 Season 7. The bad cops are back in shorter, bite-sized form in Reno 911, now a Roku original. This show has always skirted the line between being funny and inappropriate. It's also skirted the line between being smart and incredibly stupid. So this season is more of that. If you like the type of crass humour, you'll like what's on offer here. Sadly, the large cast of characters is often underutilised, perhaps due to the scheduling, perhaps due to the editing. I don't know. A lot of the characters are just kind of there, hanging out with the main cast as they get all the laughs. It's a little disappointing. Not every sketch is a killer, but there are some hilarious moments here and there, and I'm glad these characters are back. The Outpost. This is another Afghanistan war movie. This time, a group of soldiers living in an undependable outpost have to survive until they're relieved of duty. It's a lot like Zoo and Assault on Precinct 13, and as someone even points out in the Alamo. It's also surprisingly good, far better than I expected. The action is brilliant, the visuals are good too, and so is the acting, although there are a lot of characters, so it's tough to keep track of who is who. The film throws in some surprises as well, as there's a constant sense of impending doom. The majority of the film builds up to the inevitable, and then the final act about the inevitable, that's when things get pretty great. I like this film quite a bit. Don't sleep on this, you might be surprised. Black Widow. Black Widow is the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe entry, this time set between the events of Captain America Civil War and Avengers Endgame, or Infinity War rather. Black Widow is on the run. She reunites with her surrogate family and they try to save others like them from abusive men in power. It's fun, there's some decent comedy and some great action. The editing is well done, making everything seem kinetic and exciting, and the costumes, sets and special effects are great too. Sadly, it feels a little hollow because of its nature as a prequel, and the villains are a bit on the boring side. It's not the best Marvel has to offer, but it's still pretty good. After seeing it for a second time, I can also say that I enjoyed it more on a repeat viewing, which is, well, good. Check out my full video review for more. #Alive is a Korean zombie flick where a man tries to survive the outbreak by hiding out in his apartment. All is well, until he gradually loses electricity and resources. This is a pretty decent if familiar zombie film. It's also one of those zombie films that tries to put its own spin on things by having the zombies exhibit awareness and intelligence of humans, in certain regards. I enjoy it. It has some good thrills, decent comedic beats, fun characters, and it wasn't too long. It just won't wow you, as it doesn't completely reinvent the wheel. Space Jam: A New Legacy. I hate being overly negative. I always try to look at the positives and highlight those elements most. It's tough sometimes, and I sometimes have to remind myself that that's the nice, decent thing to do. After all, real, actual, living people work on these films and TV shows, whether they want to or not. So, with that being said, Space Jam: A New Legacy was not for me. I did not enjoy most of it. Yes, there are some great visuals, both in terms of cinematography and special effects and animation. On those fronts, things are great. The second half of the film also has some fun, creative moments. Sadly, the script and the acting lets it down, big time. I won't dwell, but these are some big issues. The biggest problem with the film is that this, as the title suggests, is for a new, younger audience and not fans of the original. It's barely even a sequel to the original. So, fans of the original like myself may be disappointed by this. It's worth saying that the kids in the cinema with me seemed to love this. They laughed, chuckled, gossiped about it at various moments and more. So maybe this film succeeded in its goal. I don't know. Oh, and I also really like Don Cheadle. I think he's the best thing in the film. Loki Season 1. Loki, the latest MCU TV show, is the best so far, full of mystery and intrigue, thrills and comedy, great characters and emotional dialogue. This felt like a mishmash between the X-Files, Doctor Who and the video game Control. It works, it has tons of style with fabulous sets and costumes, as well as one of the best scores I've heard in a long time. The casting is great too, with Tom Hiddleston bringing the character to life once again, putting a new villainous, fiendish spin on things alongside his sort of buddy cop Owen Wilson, and a new character called Sylvie. Check out my video review for more, but I really enjoyed this and the possibilities it's opened up for the MCU are really tantalising. Bob and Star Go to Vista Del Mar is a fun, goofy comedy about a middle-aged couple taking a vacation, only to get swept up in a villainous scheme to get revenge. It's silly, with odd costumes, quirky characters, exaggerated performances, screwball plot twists, musical moments, and more. This film has everything. Two central performances are great, with the actors bringing these wacky, almost cartoon characters to life, making them very likeable and quirky in the process. The villain is a tad disappointing though, often coming across as a character from a totally different film, but I think that's kind of the point. This won't be for everyone, but it is incredibly fun and often funny. Sometimes it pushes things a little too far and it tries to wrap things up in a very quick way, but I did like this film. Raya and the Last Dragon. This is a charming, entertaining animated movie that doesn't always break the mold. In terms of animation and visuals, Raya is a beautiful film. The animation is some of the best I've ever seen, as is the lighting, giving certain moments an almost lifelike appearance. There's ample colour and moments featuring different animation styles. It's all incredibly well done. Its story and characters are enjoyable and do a great job of showcasing diverse backgrounds and cultures, bringing them to a Western audience in a very accessible and enjoyable way. However, outside of this, the film's story and characters are a little too traditional and familiar, resulting in a film that fails to stand out much when compared to other action-adventure animated movies. It's fun, it's enjoyable, there's some good action, it's funny as well, it's just not something that's truly unique. Mayans MC Season 3. This continues to be a disappointing follow-up to Sons of Anarchy, one that lacks the fun, adventurous side of the prior series because it takes itself too seriously. Its pacing is too slow, and many of its storylines and characters are uninteresting. The show does feature good visuals and acting, but these elements just aren't enough. There are storylines that feel dragged out, that linger and go nowhere. There are characters who have been in this show whose names I can't even tell you, nor could I tell you anything about them, and there's a lack of momentum as though the writers didn't have a clue, and as such, just couldn't build towards it. It's not terrible by any means, it's actually okay, but I think I'm done with this show. Old. M. Night Shyamalan's latest film, Old, is far from his best, but also far from his worst. Filled with unbelievable dialogue, odd direction and camera framing, bizarre escalation and questionable character decisions, the film is weird, but strangely entertaining at the same time. If at any moment you question the believability of anything, the film falls apart, plain and simple. This is a film by M. Night Shyamalan, and it shows that only one person was making the key decisions here. I enjoyed it. I liked the ending, but wow was it crazy, and not always in the best ways. Kingdom, Ashen of the North. Kingdom, the South Korean Netflix TV show, continues with a prequel feature-length episode. Sadly, this pales in comparison to the very entertaining, well-crafted show it derived from. The film is all over the place. The pacing is just bad, with very slow moments that go nowhere, with other moments that are extremely fast-paced and exciting. The film is overly long episode, doesn't know how to present and balance everything that's going on. The problem may be that there's a lot going on tonally and thematically. You had the family drama, the revenge story, the historical political story, and then you have the zombies and the horror. The TV series mixes these things really quite well, but here they just don't feel like they belong together. There are some cool action scenes, some bad CGI animals, very slow moments, bland stereotypical characters, and overly dark scenes disguising the budget limitations. What a disappointing way to continue this otherwise good show. The Good Dinosaur. Pixar are great at what they do, no doubt about it. But even Pixar has its rough days. The Good Dinosaur is proof of that. The film boasts some of the best animated environments I've ever seen in a film, with some sequences looking near-on photorealistic. The problem is that the characters and the dinosaurs living in these beautiful locations look like they were drawn by children. They feel totally out of place, as though two different animated movies were smashed together. The characters are also more annoying than lovable, constantly skirting that line. The story is at times very reminiscent to The Lion King and other animated, and the jokes are really spread out with only a couple of good ones. This is by no means bad, it's just not up to Pixar's usual standards, and at times it doesn't even feel like a Pixar movie. I enjoyed it, but it was not what I wanted it to be. And the final film this month is Finding Dory. So on the other hand, compared to Pixar, Finding Dory is brilliant. I was actually really surprised by how much I like Finding Dory. The animation is amazing, incredible, great lighting, almost photorealistic like I said with the Good Dinosaur times. Only this time there's a lot more humour, there's a lot more heart, there's a lot more charm. I actually think Finding Dory is better than Finding Nemo. Yes, the adventure and the stakes has kind of been toned down a bit, but the amount of heart and humour and comedy and the pacing does make up for it. Do not sleep on Finding Dory. I actually really like that film. And that's it, that is July 2021, everything I've watched this month. If I had to recommend one thing, it would be Another Round or Finding Dory. Take your pick. Something for everyone. If there's one thing you have to avoid, maybe Space Jam: A New Legacy. I can understand why certain people want to see that, but that was really disappointing. Anyway, why not subscribe to my channel to get more content like this, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Graham Until next time, which will be August 2021, because that's how months work. Thanks for watching.